Alright, let me make sure this thing is straight. What's up, everyone? Good evening, and welcome to another edition of the show. Welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Daniel Cody, giving you reviews on all things wrestling. And before I get started, I want to say thank you guys for viewing the videos. It means the world. Last week, I broke a record. We broke a record with 100 views of last week's review of Friday Night Smackdown. And over the past other reviews, I've been getting up to 50, 30 plus reviews on things I've been doing lately. So thank you guys so much. Thank you for the double likes. It's all well appreciated. I can't say enough how much I am thankful to all of you for joining the board, for your likes and your views. Thank you. Now let's get started with tonight's program and review with John Cena coming out. And I must say, his entrance is better than what Paul Heyman mocked. But John Cena cut an amazing promo in the beginning of the show. And when you think of great promos, you think of how The Undertaker owned The Rock in 2000. You think of how that same Undertaker 20 years later slammed AJ Styles during the pandemic era, way before the Thunderdome. You think of Jake the Snake Roberts and AEW versus Cody Rhodes, even though we were more supporting Cody than anyone else. And then you have to think of this segment with John Cena. And this is not the first time he totally owned Roman on the mic. Just go back to some videos from Raw 2017 and their build-up before No Mercy of that year. But either way, John Cena came in, and I must say both of them have enhanced their mic skills. And John Cena totally destroyed Roman on the mic. First of all, alluding to his real name, Joseph, and also addressing the facts of what Roman said last week, including the one personal thought. I will say this, and I'm going to say it in a PG term, so bear with me, but we will never, and The Rock means ever, be over the missionary Baptist reference that we've been hearing since last week. That will never be forgotten. In fact, that will be the most memorable parts of promo segments in this year. Missionary Baptist reference. I know what it really means, but I gotta keep it PG. But either way, Roman had said that he doesn't want to face Cena. Cena responds by saying Roman's scared and ducked the challenge for Finn Balor. But Cena decided to respond to Roman's promo about Missionary Baptist Ministries and going so forth to own him on the mic, saying that he has to change himself. While John Cena never changes, Roman has to continue to change his ways because people stopped caring, which was a bit of a sharp cut because let's be real, Roman was supposed to be the fan favorite for many years, but he didn't get a lot of respect till he overcame leukemia, because before that he would be the face that continued to get booed, kind of like The Rock did in 97. And Roman decided he had to do just like The Rock did and take a page out of his cousin's book, just like he did in 97. So I give him credit for that. Plus, The Undertaker said sometimes you got to keep your hand on the post, and if you get stale, your audience feels stale before you do. So, and that's great points of wisdom. I replayed that quote when I was talking about how I really wish they would get over this retribution angle and Dominic Dijakovic and Mace. Because really, why are you still playing with those two like that? Oh, I thought that was a mosquito. That was a bubble. Why are you still playing with those guys like that? With him, with those two, Mansoor, if I said it correctly, and Mustafa Ali getting the roll up over those guys Monday night. But going back to the point, Roman did what he did to stay relevant, so I can respect that. The Undertaker did the same thing. I watched SummerSlam 94. It is free on Peacock once you subscribe. It's not on premium. I saw the main event. Awesome. Undertaker reinventing himself, adding a little more purplish, bluish color. So Undertaker gave great points of wisdom, and Undertaker's pretty proud of Roman. But either way, back to Cena cutting the amazing promo, cutting him about how he has to reinvent himself because no one cares about him. After a while, they get bored of him, and some of the matches they'll be waving. If you've watched Jinder Mahal versus Roman, or Roman versus Joe at Backlash, or Roman versus Brock in 2018, fans got a little bored for some reason. I don't know why, but they did. So I get it, what Cena's saying. But also, he mentioned how Roman, after calling him by his real name, Joe, is refusing to face him, not because he's worried about how Cena looks, but how Cena will make Roman look, in Cena's word, and then drops the mic. Totally owned that segment. So later on that night, there was a contract signing between Roman Reigns and Finn Balor, with Roman putting his chair, as always, at the head of the table, which is why he has that nickname, pushing his nickname, rather. And so Roman, before anything could get started, cuts a promo about how, in Roman's mind, Cena was down talking about Finn Balor, trying to twist words a little bit. But before the contract signing can begin, Baron Corbin, who interrupted Cena as a beggar because apparently he can't perform because he got shot in the crown jewels, and which means I can't whistle like Cena did, so I'm sorry. So Corbin, who earlier that night interrupted Cena, begged because he can't perform, and then he has to get AA by Cena, comes out and attacks Finn Balor and tries to sign the contract himself. By the way, Corbin still has that stain from that cheap canned processed spaghetti sauce. And also, before Corbin could sign and steal Finn Balor's opportunity, Cena comes in, attacks Corbin, and signs the contract, and you can see the upset face on Roman. It's kind of like when you feel like you're about to get caught by the police and you're a mafia lord. Something like that. So anyway, Cena has officially signed the contract, and I've had questions as of last week into, we wanted to see Cena, a lot of fans wanted to see Cena. They were even chanting Cena during the Balor Roman's contract segment, which is something we have never ever seen before. Some say he was the face of the PG era, and he never got that type of popularity. He got 50-50, but never that type of full support from the crowd. So that is interesting. So moving on after that, after Cena signs the contract and Paul Warris Heyman throws a fit, we have Roman Reigns' cousins, the Usos, who have taken a page out of Selena Vega's book with the hair mix of red and black. So Jimmy Uso faced off against Rey Mysterio, and there was a particular part in the match where Mysterio did a slide off the bottom rope, tried to splash Uso, but he got out of the way. But Roman caught it because if you've watched Rey, he is very tired of getting thrown under the bottom rope and stomach first onto the floor. So he dodged it before he could miss it, only to be caught with a super kick by Jimmy Uso. We saw Rey Mysterio pull out his famous corkscrew tope onto the Usos, and then he went for a 619, getting Jay first, and then trying to get Jimmy Uso, but Uso caught him. But before anything could go any further, it was countered, and Rey Mysterio went for the roll-up, and just as the Usos have done twice, first at Money in the Bank and last week, Rey Mysterio goes for the roll-up, and Dominic Mysterio, son of Rey, holds Mysterio down behind the referee's back for leverage, using the cheating of the lie and cheat and steal angle of the late Eddie Guerrero. But also, I will say this about that match. I ain't mad. That is the first time since SummerSlam 2020, Drew is gonna kill you. That was a great segment of Monday Night Raw, by the way. But that is the first time I will accept a roll-up. That and Liv Morgan are the only times I will accept a roll-up. And the reason I'm going to accept the roll-up because it's Rey Mysterio. That's number one. And number two, it's like the Bible and Jim Ross say, you reap what you sow. And the Usos reaped what they sow because they did it twice at Money in the Bank and last week. And now it's time to get a little dose of your own medicine. So that time I will accept the roll-up. I know people are tired of it, but this time I actually enjoy seeing it. So moving on, Reggie, the new 24/7 champion, and I will say this. No, I'm not going to go there yet. I'm getting ahead of myself. But let me just say, Reginald went from being an assistant to women and liking women, assisting Carmella and liking Sasha, and then liking Nia. Nia took Reggie in, truth be told, and accepted Reggie. So after all the women dumped him, basically, he found a light at the end of the tunnel. You know what they say, when one door closes, another opens. And when Nia turned on him, he finally saw another open door, won the 24/7 championship. And he claims to have a rear view mirror, but somebody, as WWE staff crew, snuck past him, and he didn't even see it. So yeah, you need to work on your rear view mirror, Reggie. But of course, Reggie wins the match against Shad Gable, a former Olympian, and ironic, we're in Olympic season. But the crazy part, this is where I have a question. How do you have a DQ match in a 24/7 championship? I've never seen that before. But I will say this, R-Truth made the title special, but at the same time, I still think the hardcore title was much better. It was much more fun and much more extreme, much more adventurous, as Crash Holly fought at arcades and slides. That was fun. So, how do you get disqualified? Because Otis, the Olympic Crusher, or Olympic Ogre, because he's a bad guy, but Otis, the Olympic Crusher, or Ogre, won, came and interfered with the match, causing a DQ, which means Reginald retains. But I still can't believe there's a DQ in the 24/7 championship in the same sentence. But moving on, we had a 6-person tag match between the Dirty Dogs and Apollo Crews versus Big E Langston, Cesaro, and Shinsuke Nakamura. And Shinsuke's entrance was so fun to watch. The crowd was in it. As always, Pat McAfee stood and led the choir, being the fans of Minneapolis, and they had a great time singing along to Shinsuke's theme, or should I say humming his theme. That was amazing. So, but thankfully, in the match, we had Pat McAfee was having fun, of course. There was a part in the Thunderdome where he did the Stone Cold Toast with bottles of water. That was fun. We also had 10 swings from Cesaro to Dolph Ziggler. How does Dolph not have a headache or isn't throwing up, as Pat McAfee asks, is a great question. But nonetheless, the team of Big E, Shinsuke, and Cesaro won, with Shinsuke pinning Apollo Crews, and Rick Boogs is able to get up and perform with his guitar despite the attack by Apollo's personal assistant, Commander Aziz. So, we also saw tonight Edge was coming out to give a promo of his own, but during the commercial break was attacked by strange suit wearing Seth Rollins. And for those of you who saw my review on SummerSlam last year, I said that Seth Rollins, some people just do good as a heel, and Seth Rollins does good as a heel. The crowd was mad, and I will say this, I really hope to see Seth Rollins and Edge. If that match happens, it will be a perfect SummerSlam for this generation. You have Goldberg versus Lashley, Cena versus Roman, you have Seth versus Edge, and then another women's match for the Smackdown Women's Championship, a shocking ending which I'm about to get into, which sees it all started, first of all, with Bianca coming out and celebrating her 110th day as Women's Champion on SmackDown, only to be interrupted by the self-professed most beautiful woman, which I disagree, and then Zelina Vega, who is very familiar, as I said in my review on SummerSlam 2020 a couple of days ago. Those two, Vega and Bianca, are very familiar with each other. Remember, Vega poisoned Bianca's husband. So they attacked Bianca, and to everyone's surprise, Sasha comes back, and Sasha and Bianca, who won an SP for WWE at their Sport Awards, they reunited, they greeted each other, and I had a funny feeling. I'm like, I'm really happy to see Sasha. Somebody in the crowd said, we miss our boss, but I was a little nervous. I'm like, I'm really happy, but watch your back. So, in the main event, we had Vega and Carmella versus Bianca and Sasha, and the match was great. We saw Sasha paying homage to Eddie Guerrero on the self-professed Latina Heat and going for the frog splash on Vega, only to have it broken up. So Bianca got the tag in to Sasha Banks, who would put Carmella in the bank statement, going for the tap out. Thus, Bianca and Sasha win. We're all happy, but at the same time, something in my gut is telling me, watch your back, watch your back. Don't turn your back on her. Even Pat McAfee, if you pay close attention, said, I know Bianca and them have a great respect for each other, but I would suggest that Bianca watch her back. And Pat McAfee was right. And I had that worry feeling. I was happy, but I had that worry feeling that something was going to happen. And I had that same feeling when Edge and Randy Orton reunited at the beginning of 2020 before everything happened. And thus, it happened. My worst fear came true when Sasha gave the backstabber, ironically, to Bianca after they celebrated their victory together and attacked her viciously, putting her in the bank statement, which means we might have Bianca versus Sasha 2 at the next biggest event ever. You have your fourfold events at WWE. You have your Royal Rumble, you have your WrestleMania, you have your SummerSlam, and you have your Survivor Series. And there are a lot of great pay-per-views in WWE, but those are what I call the fourfold pay-per-views of WWE's year. And thankfully, or hopefully, should I say, we are going to have Becky versus, not Becky, I'm sorry. We had a "We Want Becky" chant, by the way, while Seth Rollins was ranting, by the way, if you paid close attention. But we hope to see Bianca versus Sasha Part 2 at SummerSlam. It happened at WrestleMania. Imagine it happening at SummerSlam this year. It would be awesome. This SummerSlam is going to shape up to be really well. The match card is shaping up to be very exciting. I'm shocked, but at the same time, you gotta watch your back. Jake the Snake Roberts said it best. Never turn your back on someone you respect or fear. And Paul Heyman, if you remember, warned her that this could happen on an episode of Talking Smack shortly after Bianca won the championship at WrestleMania. Several days later, Paul Heyman warned her. And I'm not surprised that this happened. It sucks. The crowd was shocked, but let's be honest, we all saw it coming. But that just means this SummerSlam is going to be awesome. So that's all the time I got for you right now. I'll be back with another review on all things wrestling. Good night. Peace out.